You press a button on your key fob, a button you have pressed 1,000 times before, but this time, nothing happens. The truck does not start. It sits in your driveway, cold and silent, because a corporation decided you have not paid them this month. Not for a repair, not for a new part, for permission. Permission to use a button on a key fob you already own. Permission to use a radio signal that costs the manufacturer exactly $0 to transmit. This is not a malfunction. This is the automotive subscription trap, and they built it on purpose. This is the remote start scam. In 2022, a video went viral. A BMW owner discovered that the heated seats already installed in his car, the heating element physically there, wired in, ready to go, were locked behind a digital paywall. $18 a month. Not for a new feature, not for a software update, for permission to use hardware he had purchased outright. The internet erupted. BMW backed down. But the story was not over. It had barely started. Because while BMW became the face of this scandal, the real war on your wallet had been quietly raging for years before that video went viral. Toyota had beaten them to it. GM was about to do it bigger, and the numbers involved made $18 a month look like a rounding error. This is the full story of how automakers turned your truck into a subscription. Who started it, who escalated it, and exactly who pushed back. But before we get to the legislation, you need to understand where this strategy was born. It did not begin in Detroit, it began in Silicon Valley. Tesla was the first automaker to sell a car where software was genuinely separate from the hardware. From approximately 2012 onward, Tesla demonstrated you could ship a vehicle fully equipped at the factory and charge the owner later to unlock dormant capabilities through an over-the-air update, full self-driving capability, enhanced acceleration, premium connectivity, all sitting in the car until you paid to activate them. The auto industry watched and took notes. They realized that if a software company could monetize a physical asset after the sale, so could they. All they needed was the mechanism. And the mechanism was simple. Program a database check into the start sequence. If your vehicle identification number has an active subscription on record, the command executes. If not, the truck does nothing. The hardware works perfectly. The antenna works. The fob works. The only thing blocking you is a database entry the manufacturer controls. So when Toyota announced in 2021 that key fob remotes start on 2018 and newer Tundras and Tacomas, trucks already on the road across America would require an active remote connect subscription at $8 a month or $80 a year, the automotive press went cold. A Toyota spokesperson confirmed it directly to the drive. Key fob remote start. Radio frequency only, zero cellular data, $8 a month. Toyota's explanation was that the feature connected to their app ecosystem, but the key fob version had always operated on radio frequency alone. It never needed the app. Toyota had simply inserted that database check into existing firmware and began charging for what had previously been free. When backlash exploded, Toyota admitted they were not expecting the reaction. They reportedly re-evaluated the policy, but they never fully reversed it. They just got quieter about it. And that is when every other manufacturer saw exactly what getting quieter looked like. BMW walked through that door in 2022, and they did it with a catalog. In select markets, BMW launched a subscription feature menu. Heated front seats, $18 a month. Adaptive high beam assist, additional fee. Apple CarPlay connectivity, additional fee in some regions. Every item on the menu shared one characteristic. The physical hardware was already installed in every single vehicle, regardless of subscription status. The heating element was in the cushion. The chips were on the circuit board. BMW had built the house, sold you the house, and put a padlock on every room that required a monthly key. By September 2023, the heated seat subscription was suspended, not canceled, not apologized for, suspended, as though they were pausing an experiment, waiting to see when it would be safe to try again. But if BMW tested the limits, GM obliterated them. In 2023, General Motors made a move that left automotive journalists speechless. They bundled a mandatory $1,500 OnStar premium subscription into the purchase price of every new Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. Not as an option you could decline at the dealership, as a non-negotiable fee baked into the sticker. Whether you wanted it or not, whether you intended to use a single feature or not. On the GMC Sierra Heavy Duty, The total reached $1,675, $1,500 for OnStar, plus $175 for what GM officially named, and this designation requires a moment connected service capability, the capability to have been automatically enrolled in a service you never requested. GM CEO Mary Barra had not stumbled into this accidentally. She had been publicly telling investors for years that she wanted GM's subscription division built on the Netflix model: recurring, monthly, unavoidable, a permanent revenue relationship with every customer who ever bought a GM vehicle, long after the vehicle was paid off. By 2021, before the forced bundling even launched, GM was already reporting over $2 billion in annual connected services revenue, not lifetime revenue from vehicle sales, annual revenue from people who thought the transaction ended when they drove off the lot. Every feature on your dashboard had become a potential line item. Here is where the story gets more complicated. Not every manufacturer played this game. Ford looked at exactly what Toyota and GM were doing, watched the consumer rage building in real time, and made a different calculation. Key fob remote start on the F-150, Super Duty, Ranger, and Maverick was never placed behind a subscription gate. In late 2019, Ford announced that app-based remote start through Ford Pass would be free for the life of the vehicle. Ram and Stellantis followed a similar position. Key fob remote start remains free, though connected navigation runs $9.99 a month. Both companies concluded the reputational cost of charging for a radio signal outweighed whatever monthly revenue they might extract. That restraint matters because it proves the paywall was always a deliberate choice, not an industry requirement, not a technology constraint. Toyota chose to charge you, GM chose to charge you, BMW chose to charge you, Ford chose not to. The components in the vehicle were identical, the decision was not. But here is the detail the subscription fee debate is designed to prevent you from thinking about. The monthly charge is not the product, you are. Every connected vehicle today is a rolling data collection device. Your daily commute route, your recurring destinations, the gas stations you visit, the medical facilities you use, the hours you are away from home, your speed on residential streets, whether you brake hard or accelerate aggressively. This data, aggregated across millions of vehicles and cross-referenced with your identity, builds a behavioral profile of its owner worth exponentially more than $8 a month over the life of the vehicle. McKinsey & Company projected that the global market for connected car data and services could reach between $250 billion and $750 billion by 2030. $750 billion. The subscription fee is the toll booth you notice. The data infrastructure is the highway they have been quietly constructing behind your dashboard for over a decade. They charge you for the key fob function to keep your attention on the $8, while the real transaction happens in the background. The backlash is now producing legal consequences. New York State passed legislation through both chambers banning automakers from charging subscription fees for functionality that depends on components physically present in the vehicle at the time of purchase. The legal argument is precise. If those components were included in the purchase price, the buyer owns them outright. Locking them behind a recurring software fee after the sale is not a product feature. It is a post-sale extraction scheme applied to property the customer already paid for. New Jersey and Massachusetts introduced identical bills. The auto industry's lobbying response argues that connected services require ongoing server infrastructure and software maintenance. That argument has some validity for app-based services that genuinely route through cellular networks. It has zero validity for key fob remote start, which transmits a radio signal to an antenna on your own truck. Toyota's spokesperson confirmed this to The Drive directly. Zero cellular data, zero infrastructure cost. The paywall ran for years anyway. General Motors partially reversed course for 2024, making OnStar optional on most trims, but kept it mandatory on the Denali, the Hummer EV, and the Escalade, their highest margin vehicles, the ones where they calculated the buyers would absorb the fee and move on without complaint. That tells you everything about where this is headed. They are not abandoning the strategy. They are learning the tolerance threshold of each customer segment and refining the approach one vehicle generation at a time. The driveway still belongs to you, but the decision about whether pressing that button requires a monthly payment is no longer yours alone. The only thing that has moved this needle at all is enough people staying angry long enough that legislators started listening. New York listened. The question is whether the rest of the country does the same before the next generation of vehicles makes the toll booth a permanent feature of the American driveway. If this investigation opened your eyes to what is already happening, every time you reach for your key fob, hit subscribe, because the remote start is just the first charge on a bill they are still writing.